Good Packer Nation morning, everybody. Slip on my microphone here. It's Wednesday. I hope you guys are having a good week so far. Made it to hump day. Now it's just getting over the hump. Kind of like the Packers. Have to do the same thing. We got a little work to do. But it's starting this week. Ted Thompson, Mike McCarthy, along with Wes and Spoff and The Rock be out at the Combine. Let me know who you are and where you're coming at me from. We'll do some Packer Nation roll call as we get started today. On this cloudy Wednesday, a day in which I have no coffee. It's just water today, so... See, Scott's here. He's got his coffee. Man, I'm so jealous right now. There was somebody that posted a cartoon, that look you have. It was like this crazy cat doing the crazy face or whatever. That look you have when you realize that you're out of coffee. And that's the look I had this morning. But it's okay. It's okay. I'll make it. Yeah, who else is out there? Who is listening in? Where are you coming at me from? We got Scott is on already. Going to talk a little bit about the Combine coming up, lay out the schedule, etc., etc. Of course, no real news to talk about. No news from the Combine just yet. There's going to be some people we'll all have our eyes on. I think one of those guys. Hey there, Mike. Mike is here from California. Doesn't have coffee, but he drinks his Monsters. All right. Kathy is here. Hi there. And, yeah... Got the schedule for the Combine out. Let's see who else. Arkansas is on board with Nathan. Good to see you, Nathan. Maybe you can hear it. My garbage truck is coming by. It's important. It's important that I remember to put it out this week. Yeah, so... Tuesday, folks got into town. Yeah, today they'll have their measurements. Okay, we got a question coming across from Jason. We'll finish up the schedule in a minute while a few more people get on. Jason is asking about Jamal Charles in Green Bay. And we had, of course, these are the news items that are coming out. Adrian Peterson, Vikings didn't pick up his option. They're hoping that maybe he'll circle back around, get real, and they can get him signed back. Who knows? Sevilla is here from Canada, and I probably pronounced your name horribly. I apologize. Jamal Charles, the Chiefs have let him know that he's going to get released. Actually, you know what? Let me show you this. This is actually, Charles was one I have on NFL.com. I saw this morning. They have the top 100 or 101 free agents available, and they listed them in order. But I want to say... I'm not sure if I may need to go back on that. If Charles, did they tag him? Because there were several franchise tags. Cousins was one of them. But yeah, I don't think it was Charles. I think Charles is expected to be released. That's the last I heard. It was almost perfect. Thank you. Zvi. Or I guess I should have probably just left it at that, most likely. And Bryce is on and echoing my sentiments, or, you know, this is what a lot of people think too, and it's true. I mean, why wouldn't the first free agent be on the defense, you know? And when we're talking about Jamal Charles in particular, the guy was banged up. He couldn't stay healthy. And the Chiefs just had to move on. So to my mind, I'm not, and you guys know I'm not for a running back early in the draft. I'm not really a big... If Jamal Charles came, I might be kind of excited about what he might bring to the table. Same thing with Adrian Peterson, but I don't think it'd be a good move. I think it'd be basically a waste of money, and I think it would pretty much eliminate us from contention of getting any of the good defensive free agents that are out there. And it's a risk. However, the question then becomes, what happens with Eddie Lacy? If we don't sign Eddie Lacy now, running back is a need basically in the draft at that point. I don't think we can just sort of close our eyes to this position. But I don't think Jamal Charles would be an answer. Eddie Lacy, on the other hand, he was listed by NFL.com this week. We posted as one of the top risk-reward free agents out there. And the Packers are supposedly talking to Eddie Lacy. Gary is mentioning now, and this is hopeful, maybe we get a thumbs up on a Wednesday for this one, that the Packers supposedly are starting to talk to TJ Lang's agent. There's some communication going on. So Andrew is here asking how everybody is. And if we can get Lang, I think getting Lang back is critical. I think on the offensive side of the ball in particular. And the guy's going to get paid. He's probably the second best offensive lineman out there. If not the best, then you have teams that need, a good guard. Had trouble with pressure up the middle. They look at TJ Lang. They feel like, man, we can really influence our offensive line, improve our offensive line. So we shall see if the talks come to fruition in terms of a contract. But getting back, and I know that all these questions keep coming out, and they're good ones, so I want to talk about them. But I do want to mention the combine schedule because there's one topic of interest today because they're doing the workouts, the measurements, medical examinations, and some interviews today. Okay, is what they've got down. Not interesting. Not going to hear a whole lot about it. Then Thursday is the psych testing. They've got the NFLPA meeting. Punters, kickers, special teams do their workout. Not so exciting. They've got media, then they've got the bench press. I used to bench press all the time, and it's not that I'm not a fan of powerlifting, but what they do is, in my opinion, worthless. Okay, on-field workouts Friday, and then we go into day 2, okay? Then the quarterbacks, wideouts come in first. They're going to be doing, this is a really confusing way to lay out the schedule, yeah. Yeah, so at any rate, here's the thing that's actually of interest to me. Hi, Kathy. Hey, Tim. Tim says hi to everybody. The thing that's interesting today is Ted Thompson and Mike McCarthy are up in just less than an hour. That's why I may have to cut the show short today so you guys can get ready for a press conference. This is the first we'll hear from Ted Thompson. And I think Thompson is at 11 o'clock and McCarthy is at 2 o'clock or vice versa. I'll look that up. I want to make sure and get that right for you all. But the first one is up at 11. And I'm not sure whether that's Central Time or not here. But I do want to check this out for you. Yeah, but again, it's nice to hear from Ted, even though you're not going to hear anything much. But it's good to hear from him. Thompson is here at 11, and McCarthy is at 1 o'clock. So we get a chance to hear from these guys. And is this noon? I don't know if this is Eastern or doesn't say. But you all can look it up anyway. Ted he keeps everything close to the vest. And for crying out loud, it's important. It's important when it comes combine time, when it comes draft time, what you think of these guys and all this. Because every team out there is trying to get an idea of where you stand, especially for your first pick in the draft. And it's good that Thompson is tight-lipped, but it would be nice for him to let us know a little bit of something once in a while. He just never does it. He never does it. So I think it's great that we're going to get a chance to hear him talk and kind of get a feel for where he's at. Remember, we know that this is going to be the same coaching staff, basically. We had the one change, and we added a guy on the scout department, but this is the same coaching staff, so we know that's not going to change. We also know we've got some free agents that we have got to sign back. How many of those can we keep? So this team is going to have to continue to be draft and develop. We're just hoping this offseason Ted Thompson makes a move in free agency, makes a little bit more early, maybe is willing to go after a guy that can be a true difference maker and not be concerned quite as much about just saving money. I mean, it's important. It is important to keep balance, but we are so overbalanced on the side of salary cap space right now that we need to make a move. And we already got the fire Dom Capers is already up on a Wednesday. So if you're for that, for Mike here, you can go ahead and throw up a heart or give him a thumbs up right now. Morning, Richard. He says hi to everybody in Packer Nation as well. Aaron, I am doing well. Looking forward to the Combine. It's something. And the measurables, speed and there are Combine events that when the main reason is you can compare one guy to another and have them in sort of a rarefied situation where you can basically compare. That's where the 40 time. How many times do these guys even run 40 yards at a clip, especially the defensive players? Almost never. It's the first 10 yards that are really football oriented, but it gives you a measurable that everyone gets the same situation, the same opportunity, and you can compare guys. And I think that's the biggest important part. You have the first 10 yards of the 40. The vertical jump really shows you a lot about explosiveness, I think. That's just where, TJ Watt, not sure about his status, but you get a guy like JJ. I think JJ Watt's was like a 37-inch vertical, something like that. And that for a guy that size, holy smokes. Dylan says to get rid of Shum and get Alex Boy from Nevada. He has a catapult for a leg. Shum down the road. And I gotta catch up with the next comment. Dante Hightower, probably the best blitzing ILB available. Comes from a great program, the Patriots. Oh man, JB's got Ted. Come on, man. Mike, Ted Thompson builds in the draft. He's also set on saving money. He rarely signs free agents. It's pretty accurate. There are rumblings, some of which I actually take a little bit seriously, that Thompson's going to be a little more active this time around. Sam says, I wish we could get Hightower. I do too, man. That would be awesome. Scott, I hate to replace Capers, but we may need a change. Take a different direction, and that is the one thing. You're always, for me, you run into the question because it's always a risk. Change is always a risk, and I was one of those guys that during, especially the 4 and 6, that thought sometimes a change makes, number one, it lets everybody know that if you underperform, you are out of here. We don't settle for less than the best. But I'm not a big fire Dom Capers guy, not this year when I look at the injury situation. But there are those that harken back to the years that we've had where our defense has sort of faltered or fallen apart in big games, or we haven't been able to make the big defensive play that we needed. Matt's mentioning, I think it was Gary that said Thompson ain't going to fork out the cash for Hightower. And I figure that's probably the case. I mean, I feel like this is almost, I need a rabbit's foot, I need a horseshoe, I need a 4-leaf clover. At some point that Ted Thompson would just change his ways and suddenly go out and sign a high-powered, who is automatically going to then be high-priced free agent. I gotta say, if you were gonna ask me to bet on it, I'm not gonna bet on it. But this is the time of the year where we get a chance to pipe dream a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. You get a guy like Hightower. Maybe we go out Figure out how to bring in one of these cornerbacks was mentioned as well. Defense could really get it. We could really get a boost from an injection of talent, veteran talent on this team, I think. And I know that cornerback is our highest priority, and that's where I've been focused. That's really where I've been focused, because I don't feel like, and that was Ali's comment. So good point. I've been focused on that too. The reason I've been focused on that, I started because I was reading this top 100 free agency list. It's a pretty good one, actually. They've got Lacey at 40 out there, Cook at 41, Micah Hyde at 33, Nick Perry at 23. I thought Perry, pass rusher, I thought could have been a little higher. But then they got Lang at 22. But this was interesting. So I was going through it, and I was just kind of mulling it over, and I saw Chandler Jones did get hit with the franchise tag. This was not unexpected because Arians said, if we can't come to an agreement, we're going to tag him, and they did. Calais Campbell is still unrestricted. I don't think they're going to be able to. That's one that it's just makes me drool. They've got Alshon Jeffrey as number 6. He's in a premier position as much as anything. There's holes in that guy's game, and he's been injured a lot. But yeah, then Dante Hightower, they got just out of the top 10 at number 11. So what you kind of look for is maybe a guy that has, honestly, probably the best guy we would have, the guy that sort of fits the mold for us would be like Jeffrey, a guy that's been hurt, not been as available. A guy like Jamal Charles, who's been hurt, not been available. Of course, he played for a playoff team. Vikings, Adrian Peterson, he's been hurt. He's not been available. We know we're going to get him cheaper. And Aaron's asking, and my little group, my little Packer chat group, well, it's not my group. I say the group that I'm on. It's Holly's group, I think, if I'm remembering right. But they were talking about, let's trade for Devon House. And I'm like, not to name it, it's an interesting point, but number one, Ted Thompson just never pulls the trigger on trades. Devon House was, again, not available. He lost his job. There's a reason he lost his job. I think it would be money well spent, because you still got to pay the guy. I think it would be money better spent to go after and spend a little more on one of these top corners. Kevin's got a HE to the hockey sticks no with House. If it was Casey Hayward or something. That's a Sam, let's trade Lang and get Hayward back. I would, trade Lang, ouch. It's interesting though, but I don't know. Hayward's not available, I don't think, right? Just signed. Did he just sign? Is he in the list? I don't think so, but yeah, that was one that I wonder if Ted Thompson kind of wishes he had just kept him around, done what it took to keep Casey Hayward. We got some holes, mostly on the defense. We've got some guys that we can sign back on offense, well, on both sides of the ball, but this team needs a boost at defense, without a doubt. And I know a lot out there think the change at defensive coordinator would be would be the best way to go at this point. Well, we know we're not going to get that. It's just not going to happen. Not this year. Kathy wants to keep Lang. I think Lang is very important. It's good to hear they're talking to him. I had this feeling. I was texting with my cousin that there's a chance we'll get Lang back. Obviously, doesn't seem like we can get him and Treader both, because Treader's going to make some cha-ching. He's going to make some scratch now. Hightower and Poe, Poe would be fantastic as well. I think he would really help. And JB, filling the holes on the defense is what this team needs to do. Now, of course, cornerback is the glaring deficiency on defense, right? Cornerback is what slaps you in the face. However, we need to keep in mind that the defensive backfield was so badly injured that we couldn't even get corners on the field. We had to bring in safeties. We had safeties moving all over the place. We had Micah Hyde moving all over the place. So while cornerback kind of slaps you in the face, this is the glaring error in this defense. We cannot cover anybody. But here's the thing. The situation that's not being talked about enough is our pass rusher situation. And Ronnie's mentioning edge rushers. We still have not gotten much out of our inside linebacker position. We've got a couple young guys in Ryan. Joe Thomas played much better, was one of the kind of unsung heroes. He was out there on the field and available, number one. And but Perry is set to walk. Dayton Jones is a free agent. Julius Peppers. Now, will Julius Peppers be back? Our pass rush situation right now stands on the edge of a precipice. I will tell you that much right now. We cannot ignore the pass rushing situation, whether that be even getting an interior D lineman who can actually get some pressure up the middle, or free up Jake Ryan to get to the pass rusher. We've got to make sure we're paying attention to the pass rusher situation. It's not the one that sort of slaps you in the face that we just couldn't get anything done. But there were long stretches of games in which our pass rush all but disappeared. If it wasn't for Nick Perry, we'd have like very, very few sacks on this team last year. And Mike's saying Peppers is a situational rusher. Yeah, situational. But again, he's one of those that may exit. So we need to pay close attention to the situation of pass rusher and what we're looking for. And gosh, wouldn't it not be great if, and again, if's a big word, what if there were no hypothetical situations? If Thompson went out and got a corner and a pass rusher in this year's free agency pool, and then we roll into the draft with a much freer ticket. It's a much looser situation. It's a much happier situation, and to me, it's a much better situation. Those guys, yes, they're inexpensive players right off the bat. And that's why draft and develop has worked so well. Part of the reason that draft and develop has worked so well. You have to draft good players. And for the most part, Ted Thompson does a pretty good job. I think he's excellent in like the 3rd to even 6th rounds. Of course, you could do a big study on that. And Ali says, re-sign Hyde, Cook, Lang, and bring in a cornerback, and then draft a pass rusher. Of course, this year's draft sort of plays itself into the Packers' hands. There's a lot of good cornerbacks available. There's some good pass rushers available. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't pick up another wide receiver in this year's draft, but later. And 2 free agents, I'm dreaming. Well, that's exactly what I said, right? I am dreaming. That's exactly what I'm doing. Because you can't look at Ted Thompson's track record for like 10, 11 years and then expect that's going to happen. And Daniel's asking, will we get Peterson? Now, there have been some ripples. I guess I don't have it up, but Peterson's father, who I love it when the dads decide to be spokespeople for the athletes. Roger's here from La Crosse. Good to see you. Mike from Winnipeg. All right. But it sounds like Adrian Peterson is interested. His camp is making it sound like he's interested. Again, are the Packers interested in another older running back? The only thing we know about the Packers' interest in running backs is that they are interested in signing Eddie Lacy back. But the problem with that is, and we posted on this, if you go to facebook.com/Green Bay Packer Nation, the place that you're watching the show, and scroll down a little bit, there is a post, and I made the comment. The post was about the Packers' interest in Eddie Lacy. That's what the post was about. But the interesting thing to me was we had more information than I had before about the nature about where he's at in terms of the injury. And as the story goes right now, Lacy had a plate, several screws put in. Holy smokes, this was worse than out. So how healthy will Eddie Lacy be? Chris is here from Ontario. Casey Scott, Eddie needs to go. Nancy is here. We're talking about whether the Packers should sign Eddie Lacy. This has been a topic that we've kind of talked about over and over again. So, If we don't sign Eddie Lacy, then the whole Peterson conversation, because we're looking, that's my third position right now. I mean, actually fourth. We need cornerback. All right, give me thumbs up if you're on board with me. You can angry face me if you're not or whatever. Just number one, we've got to get the cornerback situation squared away. Number two for me actually is it's on the opposite side of the field, is the offensive line, because if we don't sign TJ and we don't get Treader back, now what are we going to do? Are we going to move Bulaga to like guard and have Spriggs play right tackle? Because Spriggs is out of his element as a guard. We know that. Now my third one actually is pass rusher, okay? And part of that, and I'm talking about free agency, so part of that is, again, because the comment was made, we could probably pick one up in the draft. My fourth one then is running back, actually. And because we don't know what's happening with Eddie Lacy, we don't know if he's going to be in shape. We don't know if he's going to be able to run. He's been running in water right now, but we don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in by the time the season rolls around or the preseason. And Kristen Michael is a free agent. You know, we just brought him in on that 1-year deal. So our situation at running back, you know, we've got Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery, to me, remember, keep in mind, I know there's a ton of love for Ty Montgomery. And they're saying Ty, yes, that Ty is a running back. We'll find out what number he's going to get here hopefully soon. Royals here from Hawaii. Good to see you. Okay, here's the deal. This is why running back week is another one. It's kind of like pass rusher to me. We cannot overlook this because if we don't sign Eddie Lacy back, and then Kristen Michael is a free agent. Now we've got Ty Montgomery, who I give mad props to. You know, if you watch this show, I have been a fan of Ty Montgomery since the first tape I watched on this guy. I didn't know much of anything about him. What I said then, and I'll say now, when we drafted him, I said, this is one of the most fluid athletes that I have ever seen. And then you look at how big the guy was. And he was described at the time as a bigger Randall Cobb. And I think their running style is completely different. You bet, Royal. I hope you're enjoying the weather out there. Fly me out there, would you, man? But Ty Montgomery, keep in mind the litany of second-year players. Now, I know Ty Montgomery isn't technically a second-year player, but it's going to be his first full year of actually playing the running back position, of everybody scheming to stop you. And on the flip side of that, he's going to have more experience than he did. Yeah, Ty isn't too small. No, he's not. And he proved it. He showed he can bring the load when he wants to. And his versatility that Gary's mentioning, all right? And a great point. You know, Barry Sanders, everybody said Barry Sanders was too small to play pro football. And his athleticism, now a different style of running again. But I think Ty Montgomery is going to be a great sort of strategic running back for the Green Bay Packers. But, and I think maybe I heard Aaron Nagler talk about this, and I completely agree on this one. You still need a traditional back. And give me a thumbs up if you agree. I think we still need. I'm happy with a 1-2 punch. And Ty Montgomery may be the one. He may be the number one. I don't care. I don't care I don't care what the depth chart says as long as it has more than 2 names on it. Like we need Ty Montgomery, Eddie Lacy, and somebody else. We can't run into the same situation we did last year with not having enough running backs. And Rick is mentioning Ty is no Barry, but that's of course true. But the point was Barry Sanders was considered too small, and that was to the point that somebody else had made that maybe Ty is too small. No, he's not too small. So nobody was comparing Ty Montgomery to Eddie Lacy or to Barry Sanders. All right, and Crockett is still in the mix. But again, you're talking about a guy with an injury situation, and I don't know if you'd call it an injury history right now. Of course, Aaron Ripkowski factors into this as well. And there we go. There's Andrew bringing it up right now. See, Ripkowski factors into this. But however we do it, I think we do need to have either Eddie Lacy and a lot of people don't want Eddie Lacy back, or Kristen Michael, a traditional sort of running back. It's going to lend versatility because then you can go to a two-back set with Ty Montgomery. It's going to be very interesting. Maybe that inverted bone that we used to do. Ty, I think Gary mentioned, the Swiss Army knife of the offense. The guy can do just about anything. And he can do special teams too, if we need it. And JB is mentioning it. And if I had a heart button, I would hit it. He said 2 hands, Rip. 2 hands, man. I still have nightmares because I just wonder if the Packers could have turned the game around. It was an easier loss to take because we got just beat. We didn't just fall apart, for crying out loud, at the wrong time after being in the lead or something like that, like we did a few years ago. But it's still hard to take. And that fumble, holy smokes. But I bet you I get better sleep than Ripkowski does over that one. So, but the point of all this is don't overlook the running back position. And Mike's mentioning, you bring in a guy like Adrian Peterson, you're not going to trust him to block, I don't know if I trust him to run anymore, to be honest. So we'll see. Jamal Charles was another one mentioned early in the show. That's been kind of bandied about with the expected release. And I got to give guys like Frank Gore, Adrian Peterson, I got to give them credit. And especially Adrian. Adrian had a year off. But Frank Gore in particular, to be able to play at a high level, to be able to play at the NFL level for as long as these guys have is really something to see. The average career span of a running back in the NFL is purported to be 3 seasons, 3 years. AD's done it for a long time, and he's done it at a high level. I just don't think he's the same. And I'm not an Adrian Peterson basher. A lot of people speak very highly of him. That he's a pretty decent guy. Of course, he had the incident with the abuse incident, so I'm not going to comment on that because honestly, I don't have any clue what really happened there. But and LB's saying, let's give Rip a break. Yeah. I'm certainly not against him. I'm not going to rip on Rip. Oh, you got your Wednesday joke-o-matic. I pulled that one out of the hopper real quick, didn't I? No, I think Ripkowski is great, and he showed that he can actually carry the load if needed. So I think he's a key part of this point, that we can't overlook the running back situation. We need to continue to develop Ripkowski. He had that one fumble. Other than that, the guy has basically been money. He had big shoes to fill, did he not, in John Kuhn, one of the most beloved Packers who hardly ever played, ever to be on our team. There was a time when Kuhn got plenty of touches, but it's a fullback position, so it's man. And Scott, Rip is a good player, just use both hands. Yeah, you got to cover that up. There was, in fact, Jonah was talking about it, and I need to go back and check again, said that actually Ripkowski was reaching for the ball and had his hand grabbed, so that even that one play, yes, he fumbled, you can't get it back, there's no excuses, but he may have been trying to cover up the ball. It seemed, and that would make sense to me because a fullback in particular, they encounter so much contact that I would expect a fullback to be reaching his second hand to the ball, anticipating contact. So if it was pulled away, then, All right. Do you think Green Bay will ever get our Marshall Faulk or Barry Sanders, says Tyron. Well, I think we had him long ago, Jim Taylor, but I guess that comparison to Barry Sanders or Falk would not quite be right then. It was such a power game. I don't know. It's a good question. This is a good question. We're going to talk about this. So let's poll the people while we're here because I want to discuss this. This is a good question. Give a thumbs up if you think there's in the future the Packers are going to get this guy, just a game-changing running back. Because honestly, if I was going to say is Ty Montgomery going to be a game changer of a running back? Well, I think at times he can be. But I don't think he's going to be, what I'm assuming you're talking about is a guy that can just flat out beat anybody, an Adrian Peterson type that can just wear you down and destroy a defense and just have a defense begging for its life. And a couple things come to mind. Number one, the Vikings they went after Adrian Peterson in the draft, and he was hurt at the time. He was coming back off. It was an MCL. It may have been an ACL. So that was a risk, but they took it. That is not the type of risk I would expect Ted Thompson necessarily to make. It's not 100% out of character. I think it's more out of character not until Ted Thompson retires. I think it's more out of character. I think it would be out of character for Ted to draft a guy with an injury history. I think when he goes into free agency, that's part of what he's looking for. He's looking for the guy that's not getting paid because teams are backing off of him. And that's why it's not out of the question to me for us to bring in Adrian Peterson. I wouldn't be surprised. However, if we can't get talks going with Eddie Lacy, I expect Eddie Lacy back. I think that's what the team wants. But cut Ted Thompson, says Scott. That'll probably get a thumbs up or two out there. And you add to that the fact that as long as we have Aaron Rodgers, the focus of this team is going to be in the passing game anyway. We're going to have to use resources to get in wide receivers. So running back, you get a guy like Ty Montgomery that can catch the ball. Eddie Lacy can catch the ball like nobody's business. He's a fantastic pass-catching running back. I think that's one of the most underrated skills that we never talk about this when we talk about Eddie Lacy, and we should. But like a Le'Veon Bell or a Sanders or a Marshall Faulk, AD type of a guy, I don't see it, not in the near future. You're weighing in, then we've already seen it mentioned. Ted Thompson is our general manager. Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback, and the NFL football is our game, right, guys? So we know that the running back position as a whole has been devalued. And last year, what kind of broke the mold, we saw the Cowboys pick up their boy, and it was very well worth it. The fact that they then got their starting quarterback later on in like 4 or 5 is what made that year special for them. So we may see some people going after running backs earlier in the draft this year because of how Zeke Elliott did with the Cowboys. I think that's a passing fancy. I think this game is about throwing the ball. And there are going to be these multi-purpose, these backs that can catch out of the backfield that maybe aren't as nifty. Running the ball are going to have a lot of staying power in this league. Look at have you ever seen something like this? Ty Montgomery, drafted as a wide receiver, played as a wide receiver. They threw him in the backfield once in a while to mix things up and be creative. Now he has transitioned to 100% running back. This is crazy. But one of the biggest reasons he could do it, you have to be able to run the ball. He can run the ball. But one of the biggest reasons that the Packers see so much value is they can get another receiver on the field for Aaron Rodgers, another weapon for Aaron Rodgers with the play action. You go into third down. If you get Ty Montgomery to get 6 yards on first down, maybe throw a little bubble screen on second, now you still got Ty Montgomery back there for play action on third down. It's gonna get crazy. And we have the comment. I can't. You guys can see who made it most likely. That Jordy Nelson is getting older and slower. And definitely, Nelson is no spring chicken anymore. I think he's still extremely effective. He proved that by leading the league in touchdowns. He's on the exact same wavelength as Aaron Rodgers, which is incredibly important. And we saw how important in Davante Adams. 1 year they just couldn't quite get on the same page. He wasn't quite as electric. Didn't seem like Rodgers was quite ready to trust him. And then they get in there, and then last year, Davante Adams just breaks out. Absolutely breaks out. Shows all of his athleticism because he's healthy. But yeah, so long story short, I wouldn't expect to see any major, first-round running back. I wouldn't, and I hope we don't, to be honest. I know a lot of people want us to. And a really good, there's names out there. A really good running back would definitely add to our team. But I think I think that position has less and less value, and this bounce back with Zeke Elliott is, Elliott is a pretty special player, but add to that the fact that he's running behind the best offensive line in the league. We can get a guy like Ty Montgomery. If Kristen Michael turns it on, he had a 40-plus yard touchdown, 44-yard touchdown. You can get these guys, and we're getting them for a song. And so, as mentioned, I expect Ted Thompson to do what he generally does and go defense heavily. We won't get another running back. Jordy is going nowhere. He is a great Packer. Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't think the point... here's the point that I would say about Jordy Nelson. And I'm making this comment. Jeff and I were texting about this as well. And it was his point, really. Was that, you can't ignore the fact that Jordy Nelson... there's a certain time at which Jordy Nelson is going to hang up the cleats. And we can't ignore that. And I have always been one. And this I like about Ted Thompson. One thing you'll notice, he keeps bringing wide receivers in the draft. He keeps drafting wide receivers. Even though we seem stacked. And it has done well for us. And so I would expect... I wouldn't be surprised at all if we don't pick up another wide receiver in this year's draft. I'm hoping, a little later on. Jordy's a great player. Everybody just hit the love button for Jordy. Of course he's a great player. But, time waits for no man. Packer player or otherwise. Virginia must have jumped on. I see Gary giving you a shout out there. Hey, Peter got his t-shirt. All right, I'm very happy. Good. I'm glad you like it, my friend. Finally, those of you who ordered, some of them ordered them a long time ago. And I'm so terrible about mail. I avoid mail at all costs. I try to keep my paper mail down to nothing. And I'm just terrible. So, my brother took over that, and now it's actually working because he doesn't suck. So, all right. Yeah, but Jordy, we need to keep rotating new talent, keep getting them in the hopper. We tried that with Aberdaris. Didn't work out. We'll see. Maybe we will get another... Maybe we'll get another Wisconsin Badger. Anybody got anybody they'd like to see come out of the Wisconsin Badgers team of last year? I know there's some Badger fans out there. And this week, we're going to get some measurables on TJ Watt. I'm very interested in TJ Watt at the Combine. Vince Beagle is another one, and I got to tell you, I'm kind of torn as to which one's going to have a better NFL career. It's that time of year. You just start hoping and wishing and praying, and then you go, wait, Ted Thompson's our GM. Probably not going to happen. And a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that doesn't really have TJ as a first rounder. And I know I'll get some hate for that. Because if he's on the board at 29, right now, if TJ Watt is on the board at 29, put a thumbs up if you're putting the card in and it's got his name on it. Right now, let's just see. I just want to see how many. Not many just yet. Nick's from Iowa, DraftKings. Oh, yeah, I like him too. We're talking about TJ Watt. If TJ Watt's on the board at 29, you hit the thumbs up button right now if his name is on your card, and you make the call. Virginia's in with that one. Corey's saying ask after the Combine, which is a good point. Good point. That's why I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to him in the Combine. And this is where I think the Combine has some value, right? I think you might agree that after the Combine, we're going to have an idea of whether his measurables are really there. The guy's going to have a high ceiling, I think. And he is young. He's got youth. He's got a lot going for him. And he's a Watt. So he's going to have all the benefits that come along with that. All the pressures as well. Donald says too small. And again, we're talking first round. We're talking our number one pick. So this is what might shade some people away. This is an important caveat to the question. But I am getting a lot of love. All right, now, since we did this graphically, man, TJ is getting a lot of love. Some people are hitting the button like 90 times. I'm not sure who that was. It was awesome. Now, hit the angry face if you don't want. If you think TJ Watt in the first round, some people think we could pick him up. I think we would have to trade up into the second because I don't think he's going to last quite that long, to be honest. Some say second or third. I think somebody's going to go for that for TJ at some point. Cody goes defensive back. Yeah, and again, there's a lot of information we don't have for this. I've got 1 or 2 angry faces, not too many though. And Gary is mentioning it all depends on who we pick up in free agency. It depends on what the combine numbers are to some extent. Although the combine is not going to weigh, super heavily, the Packers are going to get a chance to talk to some people. It'll be interesting to see who. Look how much smaller JJ was when he first came into the league, says MJ. And MJ, you're making a good point, my friend. And MJ, there are those who've said this, and one of them is JJ. I'm getting my names. JJ said that TJ was a better player in college than he was when he played in college. And look what JJ turned into. He was a great player too. But TJ had more sacks this year than JJ did. And look what JJ turned into. So, and it's most Badgers that make the pro are successful. Other than the running backs, it seems like the running backs, for some reason, we're beneficiaries of the great lines. But yeah, our linemen are fantastic. We have some great wide receivers that came out of Wisconsin. Jared Abbrederis didn't stick this time around, but in the past, some really good. Who was it? Evans, and there's some good ones from back there. Cody, the DB from Texas is a must. I didn't catch it. Can't deny the bloodline. It's true. It is true. We had this discussion. Virginia can't wait for the draft. Combine is here, and I guess depending on what the time zone they were basing it off of, it was a Packer site, so it may have been Central Time Zone. But either 11 minutes or like an hour and 11 minutes. Ted Thompson going to be talking, press conference. I didn't find the live feed just yet, but they will probably go live on the Facebook page, so you can check it out there. And Melvin, he had a rough year, and then he came back. He's been one that's been a real bright spot. And look what White did for the Patriots. I mean, James White in the Super Bowl was an unsung hero in that game. Rick is here from Superior. Rick is up there with my buddy Dan. I don't know if Dan's probably not on. In Duluth, my best friend we had some times together. We'll have to have story time again one of these days. But yeah, big shout out to Dan. Big shout out to you, Rick. Good to see you. I hope the ice is clearing. Spring is almost here. The birds are going crazy around here. It's nice. Mike's got some info. TJ listed 6'5", 245. How is that not good enough for an OLB? Kid has burst, agility, and closing speed. I think there's no doubt he's good enough. The one question I have is, do you pick him in the first round? That's where I think some hairs can start to be split. I am getting more and more stoked about the possibility that if the kid's still there and Ted Thompson, sometimes he can go with his gut. He says, listen, I've watched all the tape on this guy, but I also believe that he's going to be better than he even showed me on tape. And I think that's what we're seeing in TJ Watt. Because for a lot of people think Beagle's going to make a better NFL player. Patrick says definitely not the first round. Kathy's got snow in Baraboo. So there's your weather report for the day. Thank you. But I have one of these feelings that maybe Ted Thompson is pretty high on the kid. When Ted Thompson gets a chance, we had Tolzien, we had Abbrederis. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's a big question mark in the first round, I think. I think it's a big question mark in the first round. Peter thinks he'll get picked in the first round, and I tend to agree. I mean, you look at all the teams, every team in the league, okay? How many of you guys have probably said it? Give a thumbs up if you're one that got on this show and said, we need to pick up JJ. You know, we're saying it tongue in cheek. We know he's under contract, whatever, but just think about JJ. What if we had JJ? If we had Clay Matthews and JJ and Julius and Perry, what if we could just have had JJ Watt? And you trade just about any pick we've had in between to get him. And do you somewhat feel the same about TJ, that in a few years, everyone who passed him up is going to be doing the George Costanza, I could have had TJ Watt, and he had 487 sacks and 3 interceptions, run back touchdowns, or whatever it was. What about Nick Perry? Nick Perry, I think, is important. A lot of people are kind of ready to let Nick Perry walk, I think, because of the price tag. And man, what a 1-2. I mean, just think about it. You know, if if Julius doesn't come back, let's say we draft TJ, maybe we pick up a cornerback in free agency, so we have a little bit of a veteran presence. We get healthy again, which is important. We know how important that is. And then you got like TJ in there, Clay Matthews, Nick Perry. Holy smokes. That's pretty exciting. And I think it was Virginia who said, can't wait. And I can't wait either. Also with the comment I saw a little bit earlier that, Virginia, for one, has a feeling because that Ted needs to kind of redeem himself and that he's going to do it this year. I think there's everybody just seems to have, I think, the feeling that this year we knew that we were one step away. We knew that we now know we can't keep doing this. And of course, Gilmore's name comes up from Donald. Yeah. And again, I go back to, do I expect Thompson to do it? No. Just plain and simple, because he just hasn't been one to go out real early and get the high-priced free agents. And Mike's saying, we say the same thing every year, and it's totally true. However, this year, one of the caveats, this is the thing that makes this year, I think, special, is not just that everybody knows it was our defense that kept us from going to the Super Bowl. Plain and simple. Our offense sputtered a little bit, but our defense, for much of the year, just could not get it done. And the other thing that I think is interesting in this year's draft is that name right there. There's a Watt on the board in round 1. There's a TJ Watt, this TJ Watt kid. What kind of value through the combine, through the interview process, and through the scouts and Ted Thompson watching tape, what kind of value, where is he going to land on the Green Bay Packers big board? That would be interesting. And Cody, I'm a big AJ Boye from the Texans. I would love to see that. I think he would be a fantastic addition. Corey says, okay, I'm sold. Go get him. This is the thing, and I know, you guys know, by the time the draft comes around and you're sitting there and you're those of you that were Badger fans in particular, those that aren't, you still know this name. I mean, you know this guy. And you're going to be watching that and you're going to be thinking to yourself, okay, are we going to make the worst decision of our life by passing up TJ Watt and then he turns into an absolute game-changing superstar like his brother? Or are we going to get him and he becomes a, pretty good guy? Maybe he's a AJ Hawk. That would just make everyone so pissed off. I wouldn't even want to be, I would fear getting behind this camera if we draft TJ Watt as a round 1, we don't get a pass rusher, and he turns out to not really be that great. Like, if he turns out like AJ, holy crap. I mean, and AJ was a solid player. He led the league and he led the team in tackles, for crying out loud, but he was not the same value as his draft pick. Now, this is number 29 versus 5. So there is a world of difference anyway. It's apples and oranges totally. And I think that AJ would have been well received in Green Bay if we picked him up in the second round. If we picked him up in a place that his play sort of dictated By the time all was said and done, hindsight is 2020. So we are going to know you guys are going to be sitting on the edge of your seats. And this draft gets more interesting when a Watt out of Wisconsin is on the board. It makes us crazy. And, maybe after the combine, we'll talk more specifically about Watt and his numbers. Because we're gonna be crazy over TJ, but is it so crazy? That's the question. You look at what JJ has done in this league, and it is really phenomenal. And this is Big Brother right now. And TJ can still grow. He can still add mass. He can still continue to improve his game. He's going to be smart. He's going to tackle pretty well. And he has a nose for the ball. Okay. The one kind of knock that a lot of scouts seem to think he's not quite as strong with a bull rush. Well, that can be developed when you get your power under you and you get used to playing. Now, how does it translate to the next level? I don't know. The guy's got a repertoire of moves, and he can get to the quarterback now. And that has value. Donald, all right, this is an interesting question. And everybody can emoji Donald your thoughts. To trade Clay for a first rounder. And I'm assuming you want to move up and get up toward the top of the first round. Is Clay Matthews going to command that kind of cred right now? We got angry faces. We got some angry faces. We got some hearts. This is a good question there. And again, I think the deeper question is, what are you actually going to get out of Clay Matthews right now? MJ says no. Nobody's going to give a 1 for him, and I tend to be in agreement with that. Now, these guys that have pass rushing ability, if Clay was a free agent, he'd get paid, man. But in terms of you've got a draft that has pass rushers in it, and are you really going to get a first rounder, a high first round? Not out of Clay Matthews, I don't think anymore. The only way you're going to be able to pull a stunt like that off is if you get yourself in the right situation. Rick says Clay is slowing down and is overpaid. He's one of the guys I would like to see. And I got to tell you, as much as I hate Tom Brady and hate the Patriots, Tom Brady has gone in and restructured his contract, I think, twice now to try to make sure that the team can move forward the way they need to. Not many guys are willing to do that, but boy, would I like to see Aaron Rodgers sit down and say, hey, listen, we can do this a little differently. And the same thing with Clay Matthews. Say, listen, I need to get paid. And Clay Matthews is a guy, how many contracts do you have left? He needs to get paid. And this is a guy who, he's got to pay the bills. They're much higher than mine, I'm sure. But so is the salary. But a restructuring of a contract can really help the team out. And I kind of wish we would do it. Tim says he's way overpaid. Really, really expected Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews to turn it on. We saw some sort of little sparks from time to time about what they were capable of doing, but just not consistent pressure. It's like people have, Clay is getting older, like I said, slower. He's been injured, as Donald mentioned, and teams start to figure you out. So we will see what happens with that. I don't expect anything. This is the everybody's party line in Packer Nation. It always starts as, I don't expect anything to happen, and then bam, let's just dream a little. That's what the off season is for, right? That's what the off season is for. We dream it. And again, I'm going back because I'm changing my ways. I started changing my ways with the reffing and I'm going to add something to that. I changed my ways with the reffing, about pissing and moaning about reffing. And I talked about this a little bit before. I'll be brief. I used to get so upset and my blood pressure and whatever about how crappy the refs are. And the refs, they're not even full-time refs. It's a joke. And sometimes I joke about the mob calling in, like from Las Vegas, and while they're playing the casino or whatever, and they have a line into the refs, and they're making the calls. Because sometimes it just feels that bad. But I am no longer letting myself, when I see a bad call, I get ticked about it, and then I move on. I try to treat myself as a player, okay? Now, my thinking to this is goes to, mirror neurons is what I'm talking about, but let's not get into it. Basically, I feel like if I put myself in the right frame of mind, then the Packers will be able to be in the right frame of mind. So I'm not going to sit and dwell on the refs. I might piss and moan about it a little after the game. The reason I've kind of been convinced of this is because it started in the Seahawks game. The Seahawks game, I went to that game. It was a fantastic game in the end. But in the beginning, early in that game, it looked like we could struggle just like we've been struggling all year. We tried to run the ball. Christian Michael didn't even know where he was going. Until we had the big play Davante Adams, it was kind of like, and the defense in particular, it was the defense. And I started getting angry. We're playing too soft. And then I told myself, don't do it. Just move on. Just cheer. And you know what happened in the Seahawks game. So there is my theory. It's only strange if it doesn't work. And it worked at that point. And we ran the table, for crying out loud. So I now just, if something bad happens or I don't think something's going to go my way, I just move on. So I'm doing the same thing with the draft. I'm going to think, I know in the back of my mind, Ted Thompson likely won't do what I'm thinking, but then I'm just going to move on and be positive. And doggone it, if we have an awesome draft, I'm going to toot my own horn because it's going to be me. If you guys do it with me, we can channel our energy and make Ted Thompson do the right thing. It'll be harder in free agency because we don't know where he's at. But during the draft, it will be all focused. All right, and that's right. Refs are human too. They make mistakes. So I'm just in the mindset of, yes, I get mad when I see it, and then I just move on. But then I move on. I'm not going to sit and complain about it. I don't expect the calls to all go our way. In fact, I expect many of them not to. Any hopes, says Nick, for Randall or Rollins? And I say a resounding yes. These guys can high point the ball. They've got good ball skills. This will be the year, however. This is going to be the prove it year. Because I see Randall and Rollins almost as a package deal, a lot like Davante Adams. And if they come back, if they can stay healthy, I think they're going to play fine. I mean, look at the Seahawks game again. Nobody was complaining about these guys in that game. So at consistency, I think the consistency went the wrong way on us is the problem. And a lot of that has to do with injuries. You're coming back from an injury, you're going to be slower, you're going to be stiffer. And don't forget about Gunter. It's a great point. Now, here's the other caveat I have to my response to the question. And that is, I believe that, going back to my mindset, even though Ted Thompson never picks up a big first free agent, top flight free agent, I think we bring in a cornerback. So I think we bring in a cornerback and we lock down that outside role. And then now we've got Gunter, Randall, and Rollins are actually doing, there's a lot more competition there because there's less spots available at that point. And I think that's best for the team. And I think that what we're going to find is two of those guys are going to shake out and be just fine. And then maybe, I think Gunter, for the situation he got thrown into, if we can get him on a second wide receiver, I think he'll do well. Ronnie saying Randall knows he's got to perform this year. This is a first-round draft choice. So there's a lot of pressure. Davante Adams went through something that just seems so similar. And I think they're going to be fine, guys. The only thing is, how are we going to stay healthy for a change? We just can't seem to stay healthy. Scott says, hopefully the Packers will draft a cornerback they can develop. Do not draft T-Buck cornerback. Oh, man. Oh, wow. That's a blast from the past. Wow. Terrell Buckley. Hey, he had that one punt return for a touchdown. And I think that's when he started getting so full of himself that he completely lost it. And Andrew has Packers Raiders Super Bowl 52. First blush, I'm so down for that. Yeah, I was really, most Packer fans, nobody's a Raider fan except just people, not even the team didn't even have staying power, but. And their fans, they were known for being dirty a while back. Their fans tend to be really rough. But Packer fans, and you guys can emoji me your thoughts on this. Packer fans, there's a little space in our heart for the Raiders now. And it all goes back to one night that you guys all remember where you were, what you were doing, when Brett Favre played and the Packers played the Raiders after Favre's dad died. And those Raiders fans showed so much respect. And to be quite honest, now you got Charles Woodson in the mix too, who came, should have gone to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady and the Patriots. And then it came to the Packers. And this year you see they've got a young quarterback, they've got a good defense, and they found a way to win games. And I think that would be great. Because one thing I'll tell you, and we already had it mentioned, and it's point well taken, is you can't rule out the Patriots. But the one thing I will say is I do not want to see those cussing Patriots in another Super Bowl. AFC, get your act together. NFC, we get one swing at them at the end of the year to put our best against their best. And those freaking Falcons did not get the job done. I don't think our Packer defense would have been able to stop Tom Brady either, to be honest. But the Falcons didn't get it done, so I don't want to see them. Packers and anyone else but the Patriots. Now here's the thing that you're going to hear me harp on all the time. The 2018 Super Bowl is in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium. So we have to go back and we went to Arlington with their brand new Jerry World. Yay, we spent $1 billion. And now they're a playoff team. They're going to be a tough team again this year. But we went into their stadium and their fans had to sit and watch us win the Super Bowl in their own house. Vikings fans, if you're out there, I'm going to snuggle up to the camera here. Get ready, guys, because you're going to lose Adrian Peterson. You found out just where the holes are in your team. Not even your defense was that good by the time all was said and done. You're probably going to lose Greenway this year if he decides to retire. I don't know. We're coming. The Packers are coming to a Super Bowl near you. We're coming to Super Bowl 52, and you're going to get to watch us beat down some sorry AFC team in your home. So after all is said and done, when the dust clears and we've got yet another Lombardi trophy to add to our championships, when we have championship number 14 to your none, I will open my heart and I will give you all a hug. I will give you a hug, a shoulder to cry on, and then we'll go and we'll polish up our next Lombardi that we got at your place. Oh, I can't wait. Anybody out there wish that the football season was here again? I mean, I'm excited for spring, and I love spring. It's one of my favorite seasons. Fall is my favorite, though. JB, all right. But I kind of wish, maybe... But with that said, we had the comment made yesterday, how can you talk about football in February? NFL does a fantastic job of keeping us interested. There's something going on all year round. There's something. Dead spot in the dead of summer a little bit. But, you got your OTAs after, you got your free agency. You got your combine. You got your draft. You got your OTAs. Need football back. We got football. You can just put a heart up on the screen if you love this game and want to watch football all the time. And I love all sports. I come from a sport family. My dad played everything: baseball, basketball, track, football, quarterback of the football team. Then he coached it all when he was teaching. Year-round football. Year-round football. And we don't have games for a while. So we'll hunker down. We'll pay attention to the combine. I'll get back with you on Friday, and it'll be open mic day. So if you guys watch the Combine, you see some guys that jump out at you, we can talk about that, who you're excited about. I know we're going to talk about TJ, probably Vince Beagle in there too, maybe throw in the defensive back up there, whose name I can't recall. And in the meantime, we've got some exciting stuff going on. We've got, if you go to NFL Tailgate Party, or Facebook.com/NFL Tailgate Party, we've got some videos up. We've got a beer, cheese, and onion burger that I did, and we're going to be adding to that regularly very soon. Andrew really feels that we're going to get some big-time free agents, and I'm with you, man. Because this is freeing to me, because in the back of my mind, I know that everyone who has paid attention to what Ted Thompson has done is going to say, "Listen, don't get excited." But I choose to be positive, and I like your attitude, man. And I like the fact that he just feels it. He just feels it, okay? Because am I wrong? Those of you who play football, right? Whether it be in a parking lot or on the big field, college field, pros, whatever. Football is a lot about heart. Am I wrong on this? And football sometimes is about getting a feeling for what you think is going to happen next. And I'm choosing to be positive. We're going to see what happens. It's pretty exciting. So the Combine is here. Go to our Facebook page, NFL Tailgate Party. On Facebook, check out the video if you want. We're going to be cooking up a lot of good stuff. We've got more videos in the hopper for that. We've got FireFan playing March Madness. This is the other time of year. I never watch basketball, but now that FireFan is around, I have enjoyed watching basketball so much more. But I do love college basketball. I love it. Lacrosse used to have a semi-pro basketball team as well, and I loved those games. People are playing for something. But we're going to be playing our FireFan League. If you haven't downloaded FireFan, just go to your respective app store. It's called FireFan. You'll see it. You'll see this logo. It's going to be mirrored on your screen. It's called FireFan. And the code to get in is Get the Ring, all one word. We're going to be playing. You can already sign up for NCAA basketball. I played with the Badgers the other day. Just get ready, guys, because not only next year, we're going to be playing Badger football as well as Packer football. It's going to be such a blast. Patrick can't get into basketball. Oh, yeah, it's tough, but now for me, NBA basketball, I tell you, this game made it much more interesting. Frankly, that's just all I have to say, is playing FireFan makes it so much more interesting, especially if you have a few friends over. But I love college ball, and I'm a March Madness. I'm not a guru. I just love it. I just love watching the games. I love the time of year. It's spring is coming. You're at the tail end of a basketball season, which always signals winter to me. I always feel basketball in the winter. And Mike says anyone but Duke. I know there's some Duke fans out there that are going to disagree. Duke fans, feel free to angry face. It's okay. We're accepting of everyone here at Good Packer Nation Morning until there is a line that is drawn. You can even be a fan of another team. But when you become a troll, that's when you start. That's when. Oh. When you become a troll, that's when I will go walking tall on you. So anybody can, and we can throw around, we can banter about teams. And college is great because there's so many teams. Like, everybody out there should go just download FireFan, play along with your favorite college team. You probably have one. Cody's got Go Nova. You can put up your favorite team right now. That's okay. And it is a blast. Invite some friends over, have a party, and play FireFan. All right, guys, I have to wrap it up. Got to get ready for this press conference. I think that they were putting down CST, Central Standard Time, so I think I'm not pushing it into the actual press conference, but I want to get ready for that and make sure we can talk about it come Friday. Rick says go Badgers. I'll let you guys put your favorite team on the board. Download FireFan. Jump in there and play. If you're a Badger fan, we've got a Badger Nation League. Put in Get the Ring as the code and look for my brother, J.R. Augustine. Look for the Badger Nation League with J.R. Augustine's name on it, and we'll be playing together. All right. You bet, Andrew. Have a good one. Kathy, have a great day. Thank you so much. Cody, thank you. I appreciate that. MJ, have a great one. As long as yeah, MJ is keeping it real about the Badgers right now. That's okay. Yep. Gary, have a great one. Badgers and Tar Heels from Mike. All right, folks. I'm going to let you guys go. Tim, have a good one. Mike, we'll talk to you later. Thank you so much for watching. I will be posting this one. Now I'm going to start posting these immediately on YouTube as well, so if you want to catch them there in replay, you can. We'll talk to you later. Have a great Wednesday. Go Pack.
Packer Nation worldwide.